Tonight, Nigeria's former ambassador to the United States, Professor George Obiozor, emerges new leader of Igbo social-cultural group, Ohaneze Ndigbo. Nigeria is better together as one indivisible nation. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo emphasizes the country's unity at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration Thanksgiving service. Army continues onslaught against bandits and kidnappers. It claims it killed at least 50 in Katsina and Zamfara states. And position of black boxes from crashed Indonesia plane located, and Navy divers promise to retrieve flight recorders on Monday. Plus sports and international news. We begin tonight from the southeast in Imo State, where former Nigerian ambassador to the United States, Cyprus and Israel, Professor George Obiozor, today emerged the new President General of the Igbo Apex Social Cultural Group, Ohaneze Ndigbo. Professor Obiozor scored 304 votes to beat two other contestants to emerge winner in the election held at the Dan Anyam Stadium in Owerri, Imo State. Present at the election are governors of Imo and Ebonyi states, Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige, Minister of Science and Technology, Ogbonaya Onu, senators and lawmakers from the southeast, and other prominent personalities.
Delegates from the 5 southeast states and other Igbo-speaking South-South states present at the Dan Anyam Stadium in Owerri to elect new leaders for the Igbo socio-cultural group Ohaneze Ndigbo. According to the chairman of the local organizing committee and former governor of Imo State, Ikedi Hakim, all the proper procedure in accordance to the Ohaneze Ndigbo constitution has been followed for the election. This was also corroborated by the outgoing President General, Nnea Nwodo, who thanked all Igbos for their support during his tenure.
Every process, every detailed process in accordance with the Constitution has been followed here. And you can see that when it looks as if the world is coming to an end, the Igbos come together.
Prior to coming here, a few discordant tones sounded reluctance to join in the forces of today's election. I believe these voices did not mean well for Ndigbo. No matter how long it takes to hold this election, there will always be discordant tones. Your mammoth attendance today shows that in any democratic process, the minority must have its say, but the majority must have its way.
The election was conducted using the option A4 method of voting, with delegates queuing behind their preferred candidates. At the end of voting, Professor George Obiozor was declared winner with 304 votes.
So George Obiozor has a total of 304 votes. 304 votes. So by having scored the highest number of votes, validly identified by individuals, not robots, human beings who we saw and counted, he has scored the highest votes and he's declared the winner for the President General of Ohaneze 2021 elections.
Even some of those who lost out in the election expressed satisfaction with the process.
I'm highly comfortable with the outcome of the results because the election was reasonably free and fair.
The governors of Imo and Ebonyi also expressed their views on the new leadership.
The organization is excellent.
This is the most transparent system of election.
Ohaneze Ndigbo is an apex Igbo socio-cultural group with a mandate to foster unity and development among Igbos in Nigeria and beyond. Eyitope Kuteyi, Channels Television News.
Meanwhile, Professor George Obiozor has also been speaking about his plans for the Igbo social-cultural group as it takes over its leadership. The diplomat, who spoke to journalists shortly after he was declared winner of the election, that he will unite the Igbo people, focus on peace and ensure the security of his people, and also build on the economic prowess the Igbo people are known for.
A new dawn is today announced in Igbo land. We will have new narratives and new strategies to solve Igbo problems. We will have more cooperation and not conflict. We will have peace, more peaceful approach, and more peaceful coexistence rather than conflict, either with ourselves or with others. In fact, we will make peace a priority. We will make sure that the security of our people is guaranteed, at least gotten under control as soon as practicable. Honestly speaking, it's a momentous moment for us, a time to reflect and act pragmatically and in the national interest and interest of Igbo in particular. It's very important that we know and take lessons from history. In fact, those who forget their history are condemned to repeat it with more tragedy than the first time. We will never forget our history. Igbos must return to the concept of education. Qualitative education is education that launched Igbos into primary position in Nigeria. We must maintain that tradition. It's very important that we really develop Igbo land.
Activities marking this year's Armed Forces Remembrance Day continue today with a Thanksgiving service attended by a delegation of the federal government in the nation's capital, Abuja. The Secretary to the Government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustapha, who spoke on behalf of the Vice President, Professor Yemi Osinbajo, says, despite the differences in religion, ethnicity and political affiliations, Nigerians are better together and so want everyone to remain committed to upholding the country's unity. The Vice President's message was delivered at the interdenominational church service for the 2021 Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration at the National Christian Center, Abuja. He also wants Nigerians to, as a mark of honor for the sacrifices of the men and women of the armed forces, show more commitment to the unity of the nation and the task of building a better society.
It is to the memory of these heroes and heroines who fought to preserve the freedom of the nations of the world from totalitarianism in the First and Second World Wars, to keep our nation and its peoples as one in the Civil War, who laid down their lives in peacekeeping operations on the continent and elsewhere, who paid the ultimate price in the fight against the mindless terrorism in the Northeast and in defending this land from other threats to security. We must, at every opportunity, insist that every great multi-ethnic and multi-religious nation has, through thick and thin, fought to realize the great dividends of diversity and pluralism, and that the struggle to ensure a more perfect federation is a lifelong enterprise to which each generation must resolutely commit.
Meanwhile, the Armed Forces Remembrance Day Thanksgiving service also held in some other states across the country. In Rivers State, Governor Nyesom Wike is advocating for better severance package for military personnel in the country. Speaking at St. Paul's Anglican Cathedral in Diobu, Port Harcourt, Governor Wike says it is disheartening that families of fallen heroes are left unattended to after losing their loved ones in the cause of defending armless citizens and the sovereignty of the country.
You know how painful it is. A man goes to work with the hope that he's coming back that day. And the children are waiting. And they are told, we are sorry, you've lost your dad. Why? Because he went to protect the country. He went to fight for the country. And what did they get at the end of the day? Nothing. So I've always said that, yes, it is good we remember their fallen heroes. But what have we put concretely to say that they will have hope when they die and that they have something back to sustain their families? It's not because when they die, we donate 5 billion naira and that is the end of the matter. What can 5 billion naira do to protect and take care of their families?
All right. And his Bayelsa State counterpart, Governor Daoye Diri, encourages the ex-servicemen to keep on contributing to the success of the nation, as he called on leaders to make justice and equity their watchword.
So much of the insurrection, the violence, and the conflicts that we have in Nigeria today are avoidable if only we can live by justice and equity. Let me also use the opportunity to salute our ex-servicemen. Most of you here today must have undergone some harrowing experiences, but by the grace of God, you are alive today. Some of your colleagues paid the supreme price, but you are here alive. We celebrate you. In the same vein, we celebrate our service commanders and all other military and paramilitary officials here today.
Well, the military says it is intensifying its fight against banditry and activities of kidnappers as troops of Operation Hadarindaji have killed 50 bandits in Kuria village of Kaura Namoda local government area of Zamfara State. The Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General John Enenche, in a statement explains that the troops with close air support made contact with the bandits at Kuria village, leading to their death. 4 soldiers, however, sustained injuries, with 272 livestock recovered. The statement adds that troops deployed at Dunya village of Danmusa local government area of Katsina State also recovered 62 livestock from bandits who fled into the bush on sighting the troops. And for bandits operating in Zamfara State, police authorities in the state are asking them to lay down their arms and embrace peace initiative introduced by the state government or face the full wrath of the law. The Commissioner of Police, Mr. Abutu Yaro, made the call during a meeting with traditional rulers at Talata Mafara and Maradun local government areas of the state to discuss ways of ending insecurity there.
Finding lasting solutions to the security challenges is the utmost priority of the Zamfara State Commissioner of Police. It's against this background that the newly deployed Commissioner of Police has been visiting one local government after the other, meeting with relevant stakeholders, brainstorming on how to convince recalcitrant bandits to accept a peace deal by surrendering their weapons. He restates the commitment of security agencies to collaborate with traditional rulers and other stakeholders to achieve maximum success of the peace initiative propagated by the state government towards promoting sanity in Zamfara State.
One of the measures of tackling the grassroots remnants of criminality is why we are here. This is the royal father. This is the father of the grassroots. So when we approach the grassroots through him, your problem is solved. Because the traditional rulers are the major security stakeholders. And the cooperation is already well established and formidable. We're only deepening the process.
The Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs, on his part, identifies drug abuse as one of the major causes of insecurity. He advocates the need for stakeholders to team up in order to tackle the menace of insecurity.
If you can remember in Safi when NDLE arrested whose drugs that all these drugs are taken to these bandits. So I believe if the security agency can tackle that line of system of taking drugs to them in the bush, I believe the sanity will reign in Zamfara State.
Traditional rulers stress the need for the enlightenment of residents to support government's efforts to restore peace in addition to dealing with the bandits' informants.
What we're appealing to people, they should cooperate with the security agencies so that we can have a common goal to overcome the security situation in the state or in the country as a general.
Beyond the meeting, the Commissioner of Police visits police divisions where he calls on them to professionally redouble efforts in the fight against crime in Zamfara State.
Police is that police that
In part two, after the break, motorists and commuters lament security risks and killing of innocent Nigerians by bandits and kidnappers along the Damaturu-Maiduguri road. Join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you are watching the news at 10 live on Channels Television Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Nigeria's former ambassador to the United States, Professor George Obiozor, emerges new leader of Igbo social cultural group Ohaneze Indigbo. Nigeria is better together as one indivisible nation. Vice President Yemi Osinbajo emphasizes the country's unity at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration Thanksgiving service. Army continues onslaught against bandits, and kidnappers claim it killed at least 50 in Katsina and Zamfara states. And position of black boxes from crashed Indonesia plane located, Navy divers promised to retrieve flight recorders on Monday. Motorists and passengers plying the Damaturu-Maiduguri highway are asking the federal government to provide more security on the road to curb the killings and kidnap of innocent Nigerians. The 130-kilometer road, which is the major link to Maiduguri, the Borno state capital, has over the years been under security threats. Findings by Channels Television reveal daily attacks on that road, which are also associated with its deplorable state.
Embarking on a journey to Maiduguri by road is becoming increasingly risky, as passengers now have to observe prayers before taking off from the motor park. Between November 2020 and January of 2021, a large number of people were kidnapped along the road with no news of their whereabouts.
Most of our members, they don't even want to load from Damaturu to Maiduguri because of the situation. Almost every day, they will either kill you or attack you or burn your vehicle. So this situation is worrisome.
These two victims at Damaturu Specialist Hospital are among the lucky ones that escaped with bullet wounds. They narrate their ordeal to Channels Television.
I was sitting behind a guy, a very young soldier. The guy was just coming back from Kaduna. Immediately, the incident, the guy died at the spot.
You're on our way to Maiduguri. So we saw smoke. We thought that it's the bush, so we are going. So now start hearing gunshots. So now turn back. We are trying to escape. We saw some people coming with gun. They're shooting at us, shooting. So I now lie down on my mother's leg. Before I know, I just hear that my leg is paining me. I now shout. My leg.
But the Nigerian army says it has recently launched a new operation that will tackle insecurity in the northeast, especially as it affects cases of kidnapping on the highways.
The recent upsurge in insurgents' raid operations with the attendant abduction of some travelers along road Maiduguri-Damaturu, road Maiduguri-Biu, as well as the recent skirmishes experienced along road Damaturu-Biu, has necessitated the need for urgent steps to check these unwholesome acts. Therefore, the Nigerian Army launched Operation Tura Takebongo to effectively checkmate this situation.
While the elites use other means of transportation to Maiduguri, the masses are keenly looking up to God and the relevant authorities for their safety in order to enable them continue with their economic activities.
In Ebonyi State, the police say investigation is ongoing to find the perpetrators who invaded the Onueke police station in Eza South local government area and killed 3 of its officers. The state police spokesperson, Lovett Oda, who confirmed the incident, explains that the gunmen stormed the police station and then opened fire on the officers on duty, which led to the killing of 2 inspectors and a sergeant, with 2 others injured. A woman who was said to be in her house within the premises of the police station was also killed. She explains that some arrests have been made while efforts are on to apprehend those behind the dastardly act.
The leaders of the area were surprised because it is unprovoked. There was no issue, which means it's not just I don't call it it's faceless people, that is hoodlums, criminals that did that. Yes, they took away 2 of our AK-47 rifle, and the situation is under control. So we made some arrests, yes, in connection of the case, and I know investigation is seriously going. In no distant time, we should be able to bring up the perpetrators for justice, because it is too much.
Staying with crime stories, in Lagos, the new year began on a sad note for the family of Uduak Michael Osoro, whose son, Victor, was a victim of an alleged murder. The tragic incident occurred when Victor and 2 other friends went to a nearby hotel for recreation. And then Victor disappeared.
It is difficult to find the right words to describe the feeling of this family who began the year on a shattering note. Their lives turned upside down by news of an untimely death. Sympathy for the Usoro household at number 34 Samuel Street, Akowonjo in Lagos is in the air as family members and neighbors throng their residence. For the grieving family, the way the incident occurred is tainted with cruelty. Their son, Victor, went to a nearby hotel for funfair on New Year's Day with 2 of his friends, and that was where the drama began.
After we paid the 500 naira, so the lifeguard said that we should enter changing room and we should go and change our clothes. So the 2 of us entered the changing room. So I just got my clothes and come outside, jump into the water. So the place I jumped to is deep for me, so I was shouting that, please help me, help me. So the lifeguard jumped inside the water and carried me. When he saw me shouting, that's when he said he's not swimming again, because he's fearing that that place is deep for him, so he cannot swim. He did not enter at all. So the manager just came and started pushing everybody away, that we should go home, we should go home. So before I would face my back, I did not see Victor again.
The sudden disappearance of Victor left his friends dazed, who quickly called for help.
I called my sister that she should come. We said we should wait there, that she should not go from there, that she should wait there. The way there, she come, she entered. She was shouting that, something like that. The manager said that before she came, that she already checked inside the swimming pool. She now said that she checked inside the swimming pool again, in the front of her. She now, the lifeguard now off his clothes and go and shower, enter the swimming pool. He said there's nobody there. I called my brother again that I should come, that something like this. And when I came, that already load water, that you can see the tides that there's nobody there.
After much pressure was piled on the hotel manager by Victor's parents on the whereabouts of their son, the sad truth began to unravel.
So we go to the hotel. Getting to the hotel, nobody to attend to us. We stand outside the gate. We bounce the gate before some person just sluggishly. I asked, the first statement he made to me was, "It is unfortunate." Hearing that word alone, I responded, "Is Victor dead?" He told me it's unfortunate that I just double-crossed him. "Is Victor dead?" He said, "Let us go to the police, the nearest police station."
A case of this magnitude deserves a thorough investigation, and this, the Lagos State Commissioner of Police, Hakeem Odumosu, promises will happen.
It was allegation of murder, but as you said, it's alleged. So we had it as a case of SUD. SUD is still sudden and unnatural death. So where death occurs without. But if the circumstances that surrounds that is now viewed, we can now, SUD cases, in most cases now, could be now said to be maybe alleged suspected murder case. We need to do the corona test. It has corona. We need to do the COVID-19. We need to do the postmortem. Our homicide section 2, they've taken over. So that's the state TID. So the case is under investigation. And until the final one comes out, we will not be able to make a proclamation.
For now, the venue of the incident is under lock and key and heavily guarded. The family waits on word from the police on its findings. If anyone is found guilty, justice for Victor will be the only way to give the family some relief from this devastating period of their lives.
At least 20 people have been reported killed in a motor accident along the Bauchi-Maiduguri Expressway near Tirwun village, a suburb of Bauchi capital city. The accident occurred this afternoon as a result of a head-on collision involving two commercial vehicles, a Volkswagen Golf heading from Misau to Bauchi and a Hummer bus heading to Maiduguri from Jos. One of the vehicles was reported to have gone up in flames and its occupants burnt beyond recognition. Out of 22 passengers involved in the accident, only 2 survived and are said to be receiving treatment at the Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University Teaching Hospital, Bauchi. Police Public Relations Officer, Bauchi Command, Ahmed Wakil, has confirmed the accident to Channels Television, and he says the corpses have been deposited at the ATBU Teaching Hospital mortuary. And in Nasarawa State, the Federal Road Safety Commission has confirmed the death of 17 travelers along the Abuja-Kefi Road in Akwanga local government area on Saturday night. The accident, which occurred at 7 p.m., involved a commercial passenger bus and another private van, both of which went up in flames after a collision. The state's Assistant Corps Commander, Ebere Onyegbado, explains that one of the buses was coming from Abuja and attempted to overtake the other van when they collided. All 17 passengers in the passenger bus were burnt beyond recognition, while those of the private van have been taken to the hospital in Lafia. When the news at 10 returns, furniture traders at Kugbo Market in Abuja count their losses as a heavy fire destroys their source of livelihood. Join us again. Welcome back. Traders at the popular Kugbo Furniture and Building Material Market in the nation's capital, Abuja, are counting their losses after the early morning fire, which destroyed their source of livelihood. Now, no immediate cause has been given for the fire outbreak, but they are not ruling out electrical failure. The traders say they lost goods worth billions of naira to the inferno, and they want government to set up a fire service point in the market to help forestall future outbreaks.
Traders at the popular Kugbo Furniture and Building Material Market had gone home the day before with no premonition that they would be out of business just the next day. Sadly, they woke up to the news that their source of livelihood had gone up in a twinkle. They watched helplessly as men from the fire service, assisted by the Army, Navy, Air Force and NEMA, put out the fire. They struggled to pack what is left from the debris. The affected traders count their losses, and according to them, goods worth billions of naira were lost in the fire.
You can see it's a monumental loss. I don't know where, I don't know what to do, I don't know where to start. This is up to 50 billion. The machine right inside here was stored just last month. This machine alone is 50 million naira. The other one, Frank, there is about 40 million naira. And so do others. These boards, all these boards you saw there, one of them is less than 8,500. And we have millions of boards here.
So on getting here, I discovered that 6 of my shops has burned down, with fire. And I just offloaded 2 trailers of goods. What about 6 million? That one, all of them went down. Then also, I have about hardwood in this shop, Iroko, mahogany, about 3 trailers also, what about 8 million. So those things also went down.
They asked government for assistance.
The help we need is from the government. The government should please come to our aid. We need personal assistance, please. We are begging the government to please come to our aid.
We are traders, and we don't steal money. What we do is to buy our goods and sell to customers in order to get money. So as it is now, we are deeply in a mess.
The solution, according to the fire service, is acquiring fire extinguishers for all shops.
They should try as much as possible to make sure that all the shops have fire extinguishers, because that is what we have in mind. That very December, we wanted to have that training, and at the same time, that if they have, there should be a fire safety enlightenment in this very Kugbo.
The Kugbo furniture traders may not have had a great start in the new year, but many expect the government to come to their aid financially to enable them restart their businesses.
There was also a fire outbreak at the headquarters of the Nigerian Immigration Service in Abuja today, but firefighters were able to put it out before it got out of hand. The agency, in its Twitter handle, said the inferno was brought under control by officials of the Federal Fire Service and other first-hand responders. They assure the public that the incident will not in any way affect the discharge of their services, while the cause of the fire is still being investigated. Now, the salaries and allowances of federal lawmakers have often been a subject of controversy in the country. Or there have been reports that Nigerian legislators are the highest paid in the world, and there is limited disclosure from the National Assembly on the exact take-home pay of the lawmakers. In this report, our correspondent, Linda Akiti, looks at the issues surrounding the earnings of federal legislators.
The earnings of federal lawmakers in the National Assembly is consistently a topic of debates online and offline in the country. There are conflicting figures of what exactly a federal lawmaker takes home in terms of allowances and running costs. The National Assembly has not helped matters. The Ninth Assembly has refused to honor the request by civil society organizations for an open National Assembly, which is to make public the budget of the people's representatives and other institutions covered in the National Assembly budget. The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission determines the appropriate remuneration for judicial, political and public office holders, which includes federal legislators.
After all deductions, nobody in the National Assembly earns more than 1 million as remuneration. Anything more than that is not known to the Commission.
The Revenue Mobilization and Fiscal Commission website details the remuneration package for federal legislators. Data from the Nigerian Institute of Legislative Studies shows a cross-country comparative overview of the earnings of federal legislators.
People send text messages to me, I heard you earn 29 million a month. Where's my share? I don't earn that. I earn 360,000 naira a month as my salary as a senator. I don't get any allowance. What is given that people talk about running cost, which is similar. Running cost is for your office, here in Abuja, is for your constituency office, it is for your travels, it is for your meals, it's for everything.
In 2018, during the 8th Assembly, then-serving Senator representing Kaduna Central, Senator Shehu Sani, revealed that senators receive 13.5 million naira monthly as running cost. We caught up with the former senator in his office in Abuja, where he explains the reasons for making that disclosure.
But there are senators there that were angry and demanding that I should be penalized for making that disclosure. There's nothing wrong with hiding this thing, disclosing these things here. Your salary as a senator is 750,000, and then you have a running cost, which was the 13.5 million.
But a public analyst insists that the earnings of lawmakers should not be the focus, rather value for money.
But what we know in our country is that there is critical truancy, there is absenteeism, undeniable absenteeism. Channel shows us most of the time, plenary. And you see that the place is vacant. And the excuse is that they have gone on oversight. Well, who tracks the oversight? We don't get value for money.
There are also concerns about who oversights the National Assembly to ensure that funds appropriated are used for what they are intended.
We must, as citizens, ensure that we have that constituency office functioning in a way that helps us to ask the right questions.
The National Assembly will be resuming legislative proceedings for 2021 on January 26th. Nigerians would want to see a legislature which will be open in terms of making its budget accessible to the public, ensure funds are utilized judiciously and properly audited, and provide a system of tracking the activities of every legislator to ensure accountability. Linda Akiti, Channels Television News.
The Akiti state government has imposed a curfew from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. The state government has also banned gatherings of more than 20 people in the state effective from tomorrow. The The State Commissioner for Information and Value Orientation, Honorable Akimbowale Omole, announced these new guidelines in Akiti today, citing the alarming rate at which the second wave of COVID-19 is spreading in the country as the reason. He said there is need for the government to be proactive and take decisive steps to protect citizens from falling prey to the second wave of the pandemic that has claimed thousands of lives all over the world recently. Nigeria's quest to secure vaccines for its COVID-19 treatment response management will not mean that the threat the pandemic poses will disappear. That's according to the former president of the Nigerian Academy of Science and foremost virologist, Professor Uwali Tomori. He told Channels Television's Ladi Akiri on our current affairs program, Newsnight, that because the authorities have not started essential enlightenment about their plans, there is a gulf of trust between them and the people.
If you get a vaccine, you develop immunity, no doubt. I mean, if you're lucky and if you do well, likelihood is that you will develop immunity because the rate is about 95% or whatever it is they're doing. But then that vaccination and that immunity does not stop you, protect you from exposure. It does not protect you from infection. What the vaccination does is prevent your infection becoming disease. It's just an addition to the things we've said we should be doing. Wear your mask, wash your hand, maintain distance. Even when the vaccination comes, you still need to continue to do those ones. I hear the federal government has put 400 billion to buy vaccine. They don't even know which vaccine they are buying. So how many doses do you know they're going to get? Pfizer has its own different price. Moderna has its own different price. The Russian Malaya, whatever, has its own different price. On what are they basing their 400 billion? When you don't know which vaccine you're going to get. And then you don't know how many doses you have because it is the price of the vaccine that will determine the dose you get with the 400 billion. By now, Nigeria should have been putting a question and answer those questions and answer you're talking about on the radio, on the TV. This is the type of vaccine, but because we don't know, but this is the type of vaccine we're going to get. This is the group they're going to get it. Yeah, we are planning. I know the MPACDA, others have been on the planning, but it's not the planning. It's the people you are going to give. It's not MPACDA. We're going to get those vaccines in January. People should have known by now that we're likely to get it from this spot. This is the kind of vaccine you're going to get. These are the kind of reactions you get from that vaccine. This is what happens. That information should be made available. The information we are getting on the social media is all the contrary information about vaccines. And that's what the people hear, and that's what they believe.
For the full interview with Professor Tomori, do watch Newsnight tomorrow, Monday, January the 11th, 2021, at 9 p.m., only on Channels Television. The National Identity Management Commission, NIMC, will resume the enrollment for the National Identity Number NIN tomorrow after a two-day strike. But the challenges faced by enrollees and even the Commission are not likely to fade away anytime soon. Our correspondent, Dare Idowu, reports his findings after visiting more than 7 local governments in Lagos, where the enrollment exercise took place.
Enroll once and be identified for life. That is the plan. But how is this plan being carried out? A look inside the NIMC office in Alausa, and all seem cool and calm. Outside is where the chaos lives. From the crowd of mostly angry applicants who throng the enrollment centers on a daily basis, it does seem like the Commission is not properly set up for the national assignment.
Our job is foundational in the sense that we prepare every Nigerian. We have the mandate, to create and manage the database of citizens of this country and legal residents. And as such, we are equipped to do the job and we are ready to do it.
The Commission announced in December that enrollment will be through a booking system, but this is not followed religiously. Most enrollees just show up at the nearest NIMC center, hoping to get it done as fast as possible, especially as the turnaround time is less than 10 minutes. It's a different show entirely at the local governments, where the control of the process appears to have slipped off the Commission's hands. in Agege, Alimosho, Koshofe, Surulere, Mushin, Ikeja, Yaba, and other local governments visited, our investigation reveals that the process may have been hijacked by middlemen.
We have been here since Monday to collect our NIN number. Ever since we got here, they have been telling us that no more registration, that we should come next week. So I decided that no, we are not coming next week. We will get our number today. So what they are trying to do is to extort us. 6,000, 5,000. The list is 3,000.
At different local governments, officials are seen trying to create a semblance of orderliness, but the bottlenecks are still visible. The Commission says 15 million people with bank verification number BVN have been linked with the national identity number, but as the exercise continues, the Commission is expected to overcome the data integration challenges and issues of touting, extortion, and COVID-19 concerns. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
British Health Secretary Matt Hancock says lockdown rules could be fatal as hospital admissions in the country soar. It comes after almost 60,000 new cases of coronavirus were reported in the UK on Saturday, and number of deaths after a positive test passed 80,000. One scientist has already warned the country is in the eye of the storm.
Especially in some parts of
According to the Health Secretary, the government wants to bring restrictions to an end as quickly as possible.
We'll bring the restrictions to an end as soon as we possibly and safely can. They formally end on the 31st of March, the current restrictions in law, but we hope to make progress before then.
He also informed that Britain has now given around 2 million people a COVID-19 vaccination, ahead of a ramp-up of the rollout of the shots on Monday. Britain is aiming to vaccinate around 14 million people by the middle of February, comprising the over 70s, the clinically vulnerable, the elderly or with pre-existing conditions, and health and social care workers. Spain has scheduled a flight carrying COVID-19 vaccines to land in Madrid's airport on Monday, January the 11th, despite the snowstorm that brought the city to a standstill. Over 430 roads were affected by the rare blizzard and hundreds of travelers were stranded at Barajas Airport, which closed on Friday but reopened on Sunday. In Australia, New South Wales states recorded 3 new cases on Sunday as a 3-week lockdown for about 250,000 of people in Sydney's northern beaches suburbs eased. NSW and Sydney, Australia's largest city, have been isolated from the rest of Australia by state border closures or 14-day mandatory quarantine rules for interstate arrivals from New South Wales following a mid-December break. And finally, Chair of South Africa's Ministerial Advisory Committee on COVID-19 vaccines, Barry Shoop, says the new variant of the novel coronavirus found in the country is not immune to vaccines. The variant, known as E484K, was recently found in South Africa and is different from the previously reported variant identified in the United Kingdom. There are currently more than 90 million coronavirus cases around the world, with more than 1.9 million deaths. Indonesian authorities have found the black boxes of a passenger plane which crashed in the sea soon after takeoff from the capital, Jakarta. The Sriwijaya Air Boeing 737 was carrying 62 people when it vanished from the radar on its journey to Borneo. Authorities are also analyzing items they believe to be a wheel and part of the plane's fuselage.
It has been an almost 24-hour search for the black boxes, which could provide some answers as to what really happened to the Boeing 737-500 flight flying from Jakarta to Pontianak in West Kalimantan. Search and rescue teams located the black boxes suspected to belong to the Sriwijaya Air flight. 2 signals issued by the black boxes continue to be monitored and have been marked, according to Indonesia's military chief, Hadi Tjahjanto. Earlier today, debris from the jet arrived at Jakarta's port. Pieces of the wreckage were brought to the port, including the plane's altimeter radar, emergency chute, and a piece that was suspected to have come from the bottom part of the plane's tail. The National Transport Safety Committee says from Monday, search would focus on looking for victims and large pieces of the stricken jet, as well as retrieving the black boxes. Authorities also say they have received debris, body parts and other passenger belongings from the flight. Also on Sunday, families of victims arrived at the temporary post-mortem facility in Supadio Airport, Pontianak, awaiting news on the plane identifying the remains. Police are asking families of the victims to provide DNA samples and dental records to help to identify the remains. Meanwhile, President Joko Widodo has called on people to pray for the victims. At least 50 passengers are thought to have been on the flight, including 7 children, 3 babies and 12 crew. Though the plane has a capacity of 130, and everyone on board was Indonesian.
U.S. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo says the U.S. is lifting long-standing restrictions on contacts between Americans and Taiwanese officials, making them now null and void. The move is likely to anger China and increase tensions between Washington and Beijing. It comes as the Trump administration enters its final days ahead of the inauguration of Joe Biden as president on January the 20th. The Biden transition team have said the president-elect is committed to maintaining the previous U.S. policy towards Taiwan. Analysts say they will be unhappy with such a policy decision being made in the final days of the Trump administration, but that the move could be reversed easily by Mr. Pompeo's successor, Antony Blinken. The Ministry of Youth and Sports Development has confirmed that the National Sports Festival will hold as scheduled next month amid the COVID-19 outbreak. But increasing virus infections in Nigeria could put a dent on the hosting of the multi-sports competition in Benin City, Edo State.
That date will work. I'm eager to see that happen. When you also look at it, that timing is almost perfect for us when you look at the build-up to the Olympics. Because from that point, there's no let-up. We're done with that, we'll come with the National Youth Games.
The Minister of Youth and Sports Development, Sunday Dare, explains reasons for rescheduling the National Sports Festival to February the 14th amid the second wave of COVID-19. The National Sports Festival was first fixed for March 2020, but was later postponed owing to the outbreak of the pandemic. However, with the rising cases of infection in Nigeria, there are fears that the festival, which is Nigeria's biggest sporting competition, risks being another avenue for the virus transmission.
We are not disciplined in this country. For instance, those that has been agitating that the festival should hold are citing the example of Edo election, that if Edo election took place, why not the national? But we saw what happened. Everything was abused.
Next month and the second wave is very, very much dangerous. It's very, very much dangerous. But what I think should happen is that the staggering schedule they did will be the best things.
Let's hope that from the end of this month, the number will drop drastically. If not, I don't see us hosting the festival again. It's not due to the state that is hosting or athletes are not ready, but health is wet and health is important. We should always consider our health first.
But the Edo State government is given the assurance that it is ready to stage the competition in strict adherence to health and safety guidelines.
Before the suspension of the games, we were actually ready. And it was just 2 days to the tournament that it was suspended. And I can tell you that we are ready to host, and we are also ready to host in a pandemic era.
Sports enthusiasts will be looking forward to the fulfillment that the sports festival will not lose the trappings it is known for during the pandemic.
Match day 3 of the Nigeria Professional Football League play this evening recorded 17 goals and 2 away victories across 9 centres. At the new Jos Stadium, Plateau United picked their first win of the season with a 3-0 win against Heartland FC, who are yet to pick a point from 3 league games. Mohamed Zil-Kefilu, Amos Gyan and Jesse Akila handed the Jos-based team all 3 points. MFM of Lagos edged out Sunshine Stars of Akure by a lone goal at the Agege Stadium. Rangers International beat Jigawa Golden Stars in one of the thrilling away victories in matchday 3. Namdi Mejobi's 29th minute strike was the difference as Dakada FC defeated host FC Ifeanyuba. In other league games, Enyimba beat Wiki Tourists by a lone goal. Nasarawa United and Kano Pillars played out a 1-1 draw. Katsina United defeated Adamawa United 2-0. And Rivers United moved top of the table after picking their third win in 3 games against Kwara United. In English Premier League sides, Manchester City FC and Chelsea FC are through to the 4th round of the English FA Cup. City produced a polished performance to outclass Birmingham 3-0 at the Etihad. Last season's FA Cup runners-up Chelsea returned to winning ways, comfortably beating League Two side Morecambe 4-0 at Stamford Bridge. Crawley Town delivered one of the FA Cup third round's most emphatic upsets as the League Two underdogs tore apart Marcelo Bielsa's Leeds United 3-0. 3 second-half goals rewarded a fantastic performance from John Yem's side as they made light of the 62 places between themselves and their Premier League visitors. Abe Gashaw and Sige Gebresalama have won the men and women's elite races at the Great Ethiopian Run earlier today. The 10-kilometer race was postponed last year due to COVID-19, and only 9,000 people took part in the mass race, which is more than 30,000 fewer than the last edition in 2019. For 22-year-old Gashaw, it was his second victory in the event, having also won it in 2016. He finished in a time of 28 minutes 19 seconds, 1 second ahead of his friend and training partner Tadese Voku. Gebresalama claimed her maiden victory in the women's race, having narrowly missed out 2 years ago.
Business Manager, Mr. Bakration Waleyesus.
I'm happy in competition in happy, and the competition in hard. Training is hard. In competition, it is good.
And the main news again, Nigeria's former ambassador to the United States, Professor George Obiozor, today emerged as the new President General of the Igbo Social Cultural Group, Ohaneze Ndigbo. He promised to unite the Igbo people home and abroad. Also today, the Vice President, Professor Yemi Oshibajo, said that Nigeria is better together as one indivisible nation. He made the comments at the Armed Forces Remembrance Day celebration Thanksgiving service in Abuja. And Navy divers today said they have located the position of the black boxes from the crashed Indonesia plane, and their flight recorders will be retrieved when they resume on Monday. And that's it on the news at 10. I'm Ayotunde Balogun. From all of us here, it's good night.